Hello, welcome to the Buddha, realigning the Great Mother, the vow and the womb, rescuing our breath from the language of the tyrants. If you're as old as I am, or blessed and fortunate to be familiar with Tool's second album, Undertow, second release, one might say, you might be familiar with the deep cut Four Leaves, in which Maynard James Keenan vocalizes, free yourself from yourself. Free yourself from yourself. Also in the 90s, Adam Duritz from the Counting Crows, August and Everything After, if you're also blessed and fortunate to be familiar with that album. He's saying, how can I keep myself away from me in perfect blue buildings, I believe? How can I keep myself away from me? So when Tool, or Maynard, the voice of Maynard in the sound of Tool, command us to, or compel us to free ourselves from ourselves, or free yourself from yourself, they are pointing directly to the ultimate mechanism of human confinement, the left hemisphere egoic shell. But when Adam Duritz reads the central question of perfect blue buildings, how can I keep myself away from me? Keep myself away. How am I going to keep myself away from me? He poses the absolute futility of trying to solve this ego trap with the very flyer's mind that built it. The me you are trying to run away from is a localized, defensive, anxious illusion. In modern cognitive neuroscience, this trap has a name. You tell the AI, help me with this. This this gap has a name. This trap has a precise biological address, the default mode network. The default mode network is the neurological or neurobiological home of the narrative ego, the restless autobiographical self, the hyper-vigilant left brain or left hemisphere of the brain, which is associated with the right hand and the grasping and manipulation of tools and language into something that's become a consonant laden, starved, squashed, squished, feminine, vowel, squished melody, squished out harmony for syntax and economy. Anywho, it's this network that endlessly rehearses and recycles past traumas and projects those into future anxieties and builds the rigid walls of separation between the observer and the universe. When you are trapped in the default mode network, you are locked in jail for Prufrock's drawing rooms, measuring your life with coffee spoons. The only way to free yourself from yourself is to separate the true, the non-local I am, Om, from the localized tyranny of the default mode network. But you cannot think your way out of the deep end. You see, you are in the matrix. You have to breathe your way out. And to do that, you have to dismantle, deconstruct, to use the language of Jacques Derrida, the very language you are using to think. Because let's face it, modern English is the linguistic software of the default mode network. driven by the dollar in the analytical left hemisphere and the army of the United States. It reifies and deifies the consonants. Consonants are the borders. Good fences make good neighbors. The walls and the sharp edges of speech. They chop, they divide, they separate ourselves from ourselves. They divide us from our breath, our very life force energy, as they have chopped and divided the airflow. In our obsession with consonants, we have starved the vowel. Vowels are pure breath. They are sonorous, and continuous. When you sing a vowel like ah, your diaphragm drops, and the true I am moves unobstructed. English has taken that Germanic undercurrent of ending with the front of the mouth and beginning with these. So the Germanic had us ending with the TH, and now we've ended with this, with the D, which is often more of a T, so we end up with words like thanked, which is actually infant, thanked, without any vowel, a starving in a sea of consonants without water, so to speak. So English has weaponized the concept, whether knowingly or unknowingly. In a sense, you can argue this is an unconscious thing to have Guadalupe into Guadalupe, to starve the vowels out, to flatten them, to stifle them, and to turn a sonorous consonant vowel, natural sine wave of language into triple consonant clusters, as in the word thank. Again, by doing this, by slicing up the vowel, it's forced us into shallow, anxious breathing that keeps the default mode network fired in a permanent low-grade survival response. And I argue whether you're actively speaking, just reading the English language, or scrolling on our phone will keep us in this default mode network, which is basically hell of oblivion and separation from source consciousness, life force energy, chi, and the very breath that keeps us alive. So I argue this is not technically an accident. If you want to get mytho-poetic and mythological, this is a historical and cosmological coup. And it goes back to Babylon, to Sumer. History begins in Sumer, going back. Enki's upgrade versus the Babylonian forgery. Now, going from the Hermetic axioms, we know the universe is inherently dual, balanced, and gendered. Most planets actually have more than one sun. Dual sun systems are actually much more normal. We're in an abnormal, anomalous kind of star system. Jupiter might have been poised to become a second sun, but it was sort of altered by our ancestors here who were colonizing, one might say, planting seeds, one might say, in the star system. That's according to Elena Denon. Don't take it up with me if it sounds ludicrous, but Jupiter was on the pathway to becoming a second star. But that would have upset the apple cart, would have upset the seed bed, one might say, of this star system. Anyway, the universe is inherently dual, balanced, and gendered. In the original uncorrupted languages of the earth, speech flowed in a continuous rhythmic dance of consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. Barbello, mucha bella. There's an emphasis on the vowel because the vowel is the playful beauty of language, on the feminine aspect. The beauty is in the vowels, in the melodies that you create with the vowels. It's not in the consonants. No. This consonant vowel mirrored the cosmic architecture where every force had a consort. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva each had their Shaktis. Enki had his wife Damkina. Yahweh had his consort Asherah. At the subatomic level of particle physics, this is the perfect non-dual dance of the electron and the positron. We have a balance between the proton and the electron as well at the next level. We have the neutron holding this middle position of neutrality between the charge and non-charge, positive charge and negative charge and no charge. But the fracture began when the early Sumerian sky god Enlil established a blueprint of total control with back to the Atrahasis. He was seeking to downgrade humanity into a race of mindless automatons, just smart enough to operate the machines, as George Carlin would say. Just smart enough to work the machines and seem to have the AI for that. Enlil wanted us severed from the cosmic matrix. He did not want us to tap into the morphogenetic field. He did not want us to tap into the holographic halls of Amenti or the halls of records, or the Akashic field. He wanted us in servitude, just smart enough to take orders and carry them out. He, we were made to be kept in a 3D loop of survival and fear and obedience. Then he made Inky into the serpent, even though Inky was the good guy who originally had engineered us. Our Enlil's goal was to dumb us down. He was half reptilian. He was a a galactic peace deal between Anu and the reptilians and their queen, I think it might have been Tiamat, who Marduk later destroys in his retelling of the earlier Atrahasis story. The far earlier story has a council of Anunnaki turning the local indigenous bipedal form into Lulu or Adama or Adamu, the worker, the primitive Adam. These stories, by far, antedate or predate the Bible. And the story of Noah is built into the story of Atrahasis, except it's Enki, who is the good guy, who speaks to Noah through a reed wall, and later, I argue, speaks to Noah through a burning bush because he has made a deal with his brother to not directly interfere. But he's always sought to protect humanity because he had a hand in crafting our genetics. And he has not left us, according to Elena Denon, while Enlil has finally been taken, as the Bible predicted, and Marduk, the Lucifer figure, has also been removed, if you will. These figures were the devil and Lucifer characters from the Bible, respectively. Enlil being the Satan figure, prince of the air, Marduk being the Lucifer who betrayed his father, Anki, although it would take more time to fully unpack that. But Anki gives us the Hebrew language as well, the numerological symbolism of an equivalency, the gematria, as it's called in the Hebrew. And I argue also you can trace back the Kabbalah and the tarot can all be mapped together. The 10 Sephirah of the Kabbalah, the 22 paths of the tarot, have been mapped together to give the number 32, which is the sort of number of the human vertebra, the 33 being the completion of the human spine, this from sacrum and ultimately from the tailbone up to the top of the top of the spine, this journey into the Crystal Palace. So Inky gave us this knowledge, and he encoded it into parts of the Bible, into the Hebrew language. And when the Hebrews began to want power over others during the Exodus phase, Inky left, and his brother's clan took over and turned the Israelites into murderers, essentially. And and this is according to the raw material. Certainly, Moses smashes the first set of tablets he has, and it looks like there was a war between these various factions of this Anunnaki, of these Anunnaki sky gods, ultimately confusing humanity. And later on, the Hebrews alter some of these stories to take a plurality of Anunnaki or Elohim and make him into one god. And then again, the Babylonians under Marduk, they make him the supreme deity as opposed to Enlil and Anki and ultimately Anu, who was the original patriarch of the heavens, one might say. It is quite complicated, but the 32 paths of wisdom map directly onto our 32 vertebra. And I argue that what Noam Chomsky argues universal grammar, you could argue was given to us by Anki. Anki, again, was the serpent of wisdom who told us to wake up, who helped wake up our spinal tree of life. And then Enlil was upset and banished and, had Anki or had his people set about engineering us to make labor more difficult. And you can argue that this Enlil character would have been behind castration, one might say, as well as the practice of well, we can certainly say in the atrahasis, it's Enlil who decides that humanity is making too much noise. So the flood, as well as famine, as well as disease, are all weapons he chooses. And the council typically goes with, and it's his brother Enki who decides to save Noah and tells him to build the ark. So this story from the Bible has an arch villain, one might say. Although the Sumerians don't portray Enlil as evil, they don't think they had but they understand that the gods are above us, and they don't dare suggest that the gods could be good or bad. They're morally ambivalent, just like in the Greek stories. They play with us, so to speak, and in the Hebrew Judeo-Christian tradition, it's more like we're the bad ones, and the guilt all falls upon us. So circumcision was the word I was thinking of. Circumcision, one one could argue, is a cruel act, as opposed to an act of love from a supposedly all-loving father. And one might also say the serpent doesn't lie because Adam lives 900 years. On the very day you eat the apple, you will die. Well, of course, that's not true. So it's complicated to just ferret out the truth from the old stories. But if you look at the Sumerian myths, you find Enlil behind the famine, behind the flood, behind the diseases to depopulate us. And then comes Marduk, rebelling against Enki and his uncle Enlil. He feels the earth should be his. So Marduk then crowns himself king of Babylon, and I think he inaugurates an even bigger war between Enlil's factions and his own. This is, I want to believe, this nuclear Armageddon that turns the Dead Sea dead, and turns Lot's wife into a pillar of salt when Abraham and his people are forced to flee. This is the war that maybe ends the stay of the Anunnaki on the earth after the Atlantean flood. Regardless, we know that Marduk aggressively rewrites the ancient cosmology, casting his mother, or casting the Great Mother, as this dragon of chaos to be violently slain and split in two. Originally, it was his brothers who terraformed the earth to prepare it, as what the Bible says, the 6 days of creation. Although the 6 days has an even different archetypal source than just on this planet. Certainly, this planet was terraformed, and one might argue the rivers carved out, so to speak. The Nile, one might say, the Amazon. We don't know for certain, but terraforming in some places was clear. He's using these mountainsides and creating these terraces in the mountainsides and the irrigation canals at the mountains and the giant Pumapunka stones, et cetera, et cetera. There was a giant building here at one point, no doubt. So Marduk was the primeval example of he controls the present, controls the past, he controls the past, controls the future, controlling language, controlling the history books, controlling the religious narrative is how you do that. So this Babylon was the source of this. And now the New Testament, this Revelation document, talks about a mystery Babylon, which I argue is we see right now. The United States going back to Gilgamesh. Once they found out Gilgamesh was real, just like the Germans once they found that it was real, they wanted it. So we have that Germanic Fourth Reich kind of energy going on with our country ever since Project Paperclip. And we know the Nazis made deals in connection with this breakaway, almost Illuminati, evil extraterrestrial group from Aldebaran, supposedly. And they create this UFO, but just they didn't create enough of them to win World War II. They split off to Antarctica and they went underground and they surreptitiously, in a subterranean way, took over through the Roswell crash in 47. And the reports of the early contactees saying they saw these Nazis in these flying craft and reptilians. It sounded bizarre, but that's how bizarre. But that too, the breakaway deep state was. The breakaway deep state was this renegade Nazi breakaway group with these renegade reptilians going back to Enlil's reptilian ancestry, and the breakaway group that aligned with Marduk, going back to the Pleiades. It's just like Earth is one of these later civilizational planets after Mars is ruined, after this other planet Moldak destroys itself, after the wars in Orion. We have no idea of the ancient history of this planet. That Atlantis is not just a myth. That this ancient builder race was here. So it's very complicated. But the bottom line is the Babylonian forgery of more recent history of the Lucifer rebellion found its eventual devastating manifestation with the patriarchy, the patriarchal lineage, and this is where the male-dominated world comes into fruition. 40,000 years ago, before all of this, you had the Venus of Willendorf, you had a great mother archetype that was a natural, spontaneous, artistic expression of something like deity, but it was female. It didn't have a head. It was a pregnant bust, a pregnant belly. It was a female pregnant earth mother, if you would say. So I argue that she is there residually in our human psyche as this primeval archetype that has primacy within us over the male sky god, our authorial, authoritative authority and that ultimately we have to let go of. The author must die so the reader can be born, like Roland Barthes told us in The Death of the Author. We have to let this leptimospheric ego be blown out, anahata, like the Buddha said. There's an alignment with this Buddha who then becomes a great Buddha of abundance in China and Japan, mostly China, becomes this pregnant male Buddha, but becomes superimposed with the Bon religion and Kuan Yin and this great mother archetype. So the Buddha becomes our anchor, the Buddha of the basin down there to help us regain the breath, reconnect the cerebrospinal fluid, and the slower, lower theta brainwave. Move us away from this technotronic false utopia, this dystopia of the matrix. Okay, the theta brainwaves and separation from source. So now the mechanical rapacity of this Babylon system that Bob Marley identified really achieved this terrifying apotheosis. So it's terrifying, it's terrifying apocalyptic apotheosis on July 16, 1945, at the Trinity test site. You see, many of us are Starseed volunteers who came in to this planet after that time because there was a global shockwave, if you will, or a cosmic shockwave that rippled and woke the whole cosmos up, the whole universe, what the heck we were doing here on Earth. So the detonation of the first atomic bomb was the absolute literal reenactment of Marduk's blade, this hyper-rational right hand of science, taking a unified whole quantum particle and violently slicing it open to unleash hellfire. In the blinding flash of that explosion, the West did not just build a bomb, they reified the isolated, weaponized ego as a global god. They raped the very heart of the earth, declaring that nothing was sacred, nothing was whole, and everything could be owned. You see, that's the whole idea of this modern imperialism, colonialism, this whole shifting ism, this elitism of Zionism, all these isms, this schism of the ism, gotta go. But today, modern military industrial complex stands dressed in the garb of freedom and religion, running the exact same software of conquest. When the white coloners arrived from the shores of Hawaii, carrying this exact same right-hand machinery of separation, the indigenous people took them and gave them a name that exposes the deepest spiritual pathology of the Western Empire. They called them the Heoli. The literal translation of Heoli is the people without breath. It is the supreme tragic irony of our modern technological existence. We have conquered the globe, built our concrete consonant grids, our concrete jungle, split the atom, and designed artificial intelligence simulations, all while completely starving ourselves of our own life force. We have built an entire civilization of the living dead. We have willingly surrendered the one true thing we actually possess absolute sovereignty over, our diaphragmatic breath. All to feed an out of control, hyper vigilant, default mode network ego that demands too much, like the Dave Matthews song. We are a culture eating itself alive and starving ourselves because the ego is desperately blind to its own truth. Its frantic hunger for consumption is actually just a screaming, displaced desire to drop its weapons and be one with the whole. Mother, you had me, but I never had you. John Lennon understood this, you see, the primal scream to get back to source, to make the ego let go. This is where we'll leave it for today. Om Shanti Om.
I wanna see you, I don't